I'm Kristen Oaks-White.
And I'm Avery Davidson. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week.
Well, did you know there are nearly 560,000 head of beef cattle on more than 11,000 ranches across Louisiana? And that's a fact that I know all too well as a former Louisiana Cattlemen's queen.
Then you likely knew a lot of people there, Kristen, at the annual Cattle Industry Convention and National Cattlemen's Beef Association trade show. More than 7,000 people registered for the event, and we found out from Louisiana cattlemen there in New Orleans, it's a great way to make connections. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association trade show is 7 acres of booths and equipment. And members of the Louisiana Farm Bureau Livestock Advisory Committee are taking in all 7 acres. Committee Chair Marty Woldridge says about a dozen of his fellow cattle ranchers joined him in New Orleans.
A really great time for us to get together, see each other, but to get in here and mix and mingle. I mean, I saw them this morning. I saw those people as we got our name tags and got in the door, and I haven't hardly seen most of them since. I pass them every now and then, but they're here laying their hands on the latest equipment and getting a visit with the pharmaceutical reps that they know through, from back home and so on and so forth. It's really a great deal for them to come and see what the latest in the cattle industry is right now.
Woldridge makes a stop at the Town Creek Farm booth to speak with Joy Resnicek. Woldridge and many other Louisiana ranchers do business with the farm based in West Point, Mississippi, which is why when the Cattle Industry Convention is close to home, Resnicek sets up a booth.
This year has been particularly interesting because we've actually run into quite a few people that toured Town Creek Farm. They were with the Louisiana Beef Tour. We had a great tour. Guys have come up, talked about the tour, and the networking here is absolutely fantastic.
I like it all right now. It's like a kid in a candy store.
Bossier Parish Farm Bureau President Lloyd Dodson mapped out his route through the trade show.
You can't go anywhere else to get as much information in a day on what we need and what we use to try to make it work in the cattle business.
The National Cattlemen's Beef Association has a new president. Jennifer Houston of Sweetwater, Tennessee will take the helm. Louisiana rancher Amelia Kent, who is also on the Louisiana Farm Bureau Livestock Committee, continues to serve on the Cattlemen's Beef Board. And Kristen, I was really impressed with the size of that trade show and just how many people were there.
My father-in-law and mother-in-law usually always go to it, but they mentioned that this is a big convention, and I think it's because people don't want to pass up a good time in New Orleans.
Oh no, and this one set a record, so record attendance again.
Well, awesome. Maybe we'll have more people come back to New Orleans. Well, President Donald Trump mentioned agriculture directly twice in his State of the Union speech. U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Sonny Perdue sat on the front row near the president in the House chamber.
However, just a few days before the State of the Union, Perdue was in New Orleans for the Cattle Industry Convention. Perdue gave the keynote speech during the closing general session at the Ernest Morial Convention Center. Secretary Perdue spoke off the cuff about the 2018 Farm Bill, upcoming challenges, and the challenges from last year. For Louisiana soybean farmers, the biggest challenge is not receiving payments through the Market Facilitation Program because they were not able to harvest their crop. The MFP only allows payments to be made on harvested acres rather than planted acres. Congressman Ralph Abraham had introduced a bill in Congress to allow the MFP to apply to planted acres.
I would encourage Congress to pass Dr. Abraham's bill. I think it really reaches out there. We were not able to change the Market Facilitation Program midstream. We had put out the rules and regulations in the summer, and we had to live through those all the way through. So we live by acts of Congress. We're the administration, the executive branch, and we implement what Congress passes. And if they so choose, we'll be happy to execute and implement that.
I did an extensive one-on-one interview with Secretary Perdue, really nice guy, and you can listen to it in its entirety on the Voice of Louisiana Agriculture podcast. We'll also post the interview on our Facebook page. We talked about everything from the MFP to conservation programs, even a little bit about NRCS, because I had a couple of folks from NRCS with me there. You can find links to both of those on our website at twilatv.org. Springtime is generally a time of optimism for farmers. The hope is that the new crop going in the ground will grow and prosper.
However, farmers going into this year are facing an uphill battle. As Twila's Neil Melanson tells us, this is one of the worst times for the farm economy in almost 3 decades.
Farmers in Louisiana knew this past fall that 2019 would shape up to be a tough year in farming. Many are facing having to get an additional loan for 2018 to cash flow before even starting on 2019's investment.
2019 is going to be an extension of the financial challenges that producers faced last year and really have faced over the past 3, 4, or 5 years. And that stems from tightness in cash flow statements, rising interest rates, and really the increased requirements of collateral when producers go in to seek operating loans or farm ownership loans.
At the recent meeting of the American Sugarcane League, the focus was, of course, on sugar, which had a fairly good year, but many folks here also grow other crops like soybeans. Keynote speaker Jim Wiesemeyer said even with government intervention, there were tough times ahead for many of those crops.
While the Trump tariff payments have helped, they don't heal all those wounds. We're down 70% in working capital from the peak in 2012.
Wiesemeyer added that although things were tough, the passage of the 2018 Farm Bill might prevent a complete collapse of the farm economy.
We have really better safety nets now, not only the farm programs, but in the crop revenue assurance, especially in the Midwest, corn and soybeans. You have a substantial revenue assurance program, that protects from a price relationship, which means February prices are going to be very key because that'll set the guarantees.
Even with those guarantees, the damage to spring soybean acres is likely done, Diliberto said.
I think with the new crop soybean corn price ratios the way they are, I think that ratio favors less soybeans moving out of rotation and going into corn.
Diliberto said the 2 things producers can do is run, don't walk to your local FSA office with paperwork in hand to get those spring loans running now, and 2, pay extra careful attention to the markets or use a marketing service to maximize the price throughout 2019. For This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, I'm Neil Melanson.
Now, the volume of farm loans reached a historical high for the 4th quarter of 2018, increasing more than $10 billion or 22% more than the previous year. Worse still, interest rates on those loans went higher while farm income has gone lower. And the only good news may be that land value for farm real estate has gone up. But if farmers don't own the land, then it doesn't really help them out any.
No, it doesn't for the folks who lease. I tell you what though, Jim Wiesemeyer, who we just heard from in Neil Melanson's piece, he is one of those knowledgeable people who also knows how to talk to you about these sort of things that can make you want to yawn and make you want to cry all at the same time, but tells it to you in a way that's engaging and really helps to get the points across.
Well, I know that I'm glad Landon and his father sold some beans yesterday that they hauled off, so it's cutting into, they've still got, more than half of the beans that they haven't sold in their grain bins.
So are you saying you get to keep the electricity on at your house?
I hope so. I hope so.
Well, the agriculture industry has some of the most dangerous jobs in the world and some of the dirtiest as well. Each year, ag workers die in grain bin accidents, including here in Louisiana. Fortunately, there is a means of escape for workers caught in those grain bins if first responders get there in time with the right equipment.
That's why the Louisiana Farm Bureau is holding a series of training workshops across the state to train those first responders on how to use the equipment. Wendell Miley, Safety Director for the Louisiana Farm Bureau, says those techniques have saved a life in Louisiana already.
We've had a few fatalities in Louisiana over the last several years and did have a flowing grain entrapment up in the northern part of the state where there was a rescue. So that's what we're trying to get to, is teach our local volunteer firefighters, the guys that are first on the scene, how to safely, effectively remove someone from a grain bin accident.
The workshops will be held Tuesday, February 26th at D&G Farms in Iota, Louisiana, Wednesday, February 27th at Chauncey Petrie Farms in Ville Platte, and Thursday, February 28th at Angelina Grain in Vidalia. Lunch will be provided, but space is limited, so registration is required. For more information on the events and a complete rundown, you can log on to our website at twilatv.org. Well, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association was not the only convention drawing farmers and ranchers to Louisiana recently. The LSU Block and Bridle Club also hosted clubs from more than 30 universities at this year's National Block and Bridle Convention.
As Twila's Carl Wiggers found out, these college students finally graduating means a bright future for the beef industry.
2 busloads of college students have found their way to the farm of Russell and Amelia Kent near Clinton. These students are here traveling from all corners of the United States to learn about the beef industry in Louisiana.
This was such a broad, diverse group, but when we start talking about our industry, when we're talking about the different segments within, they're very parallel regardless of specific management regimes relative to your location.
These students took in the rolling hills where the Kent's cattle grazed in the distance. Wet roads and a tight schedule kept the group from the fields, but LSU Block and Bridle president Dina Crochet says there's a lot this class can learn from the Kents.
I think as these are college kids, we're all getting to that stage where we're trying to find our niche and seeing where we're going to go in life, and I think Miss Amelia can impact a group this age with her story, and I think she's very intelligent and can give very good insight to kids our age.
We built our farm from the ground up, and to be able to share that with college students expressing an interest in the beef industry, it's really encouraging for me, but it's also quite a humbling opportunity as well.
Kevin Chenove is a senior at LSU who plans to grow his herd when he graduates later this year. He says learning from other producers like the Kents is precisely why he came on this beef tour.
I wanted to come on the beef tour to just see other people's operations, to learn more about what they do with their cattle, to learn new ideas to bring back to some of the cows that I have, and to just meet and network new people.
Crochet says that networking has made Block and Bridle such a valuable experience for her while helping host this tour.
There's universities from across the country here, Nebraska, Tennessee, Mississippi, Missouri. So it's been nice getting to know different people.
These young people are not the only ones leaving this tour with a new understanding, though. Kent is optimistic about the role that they will play in the beef industry over the next few years. A lot of discussion revolved around the idea of direct marketing, a tool that Russell and Amelia have added to their operation recently. Chenove says that this is a market that he will definitely explore as he grows his own herd.
It's something that I'm definitely going to read into and look into, because I'm not completely sure on how it works, how you'd finish them, but it's definitely something that I would take away from this.
Given consumer preferences at the moment, I think direct marketing and consumers knowing their farmer is on the rise, and that can be an excellent opportunity for young farmers and ranchers as an avenue to get started.
Groups from Block and Bridle also toured the LSU campus, New Orleans, and got a glimpse into the South Louisiana equine industry, including a stop at Clear Creek Stud Farm in Folsom. Tammy Arender took us there last week. To learn more about Block and Bridle, head over to our website at twilatv.org.
Of the 26,000 farms in Louisiana, 3,500 of them are operated by women. And if you are or know one of these women, there's a group you might want to know about. The Louisiana Women in Ag Conference is going to be held next month between March 21st and 22nd in Alexandria. It's on a Thursday and Friday and includes tours of farms run by women. In addition, Margie Geiler-Alanez, founder of the Farm Her, will be the keynote speaker focusing on support, empowerment, and education.
The event will be held in Alexandria at the Holiday Inn, where special room rates are available, but only until February 21st, so consider booking as soon as possible. Online registration is available, and you can find a link to their site on our website at twilatv.org. This week, we do have some sad news to report. A dear member of our Louisiana Farm Bureau family, Mary Ledden Danos, passed away Monday, February 4th, 2019. Mary Ledden spent much of her life advocating for agriculture through the Farm Bureau organization and the Louisiana Ag in the Classroom program, and she was also just a really nice person.
Longtime friend and colleague Linda Danos shared these warm thoughts about Mary Ledden. She so loved educating others about agriculture. It does not matter where we went. She never missed an opportunity to teach someone about agriculture. She asked every waiter, taxi driver, flight attendant, cashier, teacher, and student one important question: have you used agriculture today? And she delighted in helping them come to the answer. Today we all talk about advocacy, and I cannot think of a better advocate for agriculture than Mary Ledden. My dear friend, you will be missed by this industry, this organization, and most surely by me. Mary Ledden was 73.
I now hope they're fighting today.
I hope they are. I'll put a Dorito right here. Loose.
Find your place in the country and the lender who can get you there. Find Louisiana Land Bank. Financing for country homes, recreational property, farms and ranches, and agribusiness.
I don't think you can separate my mom, the farmer, from just my mom, Judia.
She's half of me. If the tractor would get stuck, she'd get in the mud and help me get it out.
Katie takes care of the paperwork. Her main focus is the H-2A compliance.
If tomorrow Deborah just disappeared, that would be kind of like cutting off one of my hands.
Both of us are one, and both of this is our thing together.
She's my best friend in the world, and that's just the way it is.
Before I got active in Farm Bureau at the level that I'm at now, I often felt like I was isolated on the farm. It was just me against the world. Now, with my Farm Bureau family, I got somebody going against the world with me. I am Farm Bureau.
Louisiana oysters, salty, sweet, and delicious. But have you ever thought about what happens to all those oyster shells? Most of them end up in trash cans and landfills. The Coalition to Restore Coastal Louisiana is changing this with its oyster shell recycling program. And you can help by visiting these participating restaurants. It's a simple and delicious way to restore our coast. The shells will then be used to sustain and rebuild oyster reefs. Remember, once you shuck them, don't just chuck them.
Since 2002, Bonnie Plants has held a cabbage growing competition for Louisiana students. The winner gets a $1,000 savings bond toward their education, a plaque, and of course, bragging rights. That's the most important thing. The program is meant to get children involved in gardening and help them understand where their food comes from.
As Jennifer Finley tells us, you'll definitely want to know how they grow them this big.
My name is Elena and I grew the biggest cabbage.
My name is Foster Reeves with Bonnie Plants. I'm here to present the third grade cabbage program winner for the state of Louisiana to Elena Watkins at Southland Christian Academy.
You know, this program with Bonnie Plants is really great, right? More than 200 schools this year, thousands of plants, thousands of cabbages, right? And then Miss Elena's grand champion. That is one pretty cabbage, my goodness.
It's meant to get children involved in the gardening and to learn how to grow and to understand where food comes from, and hopefully to get them to start growing plants and gardening in the future, because they are our future as far as farming and agriculture.
I just took it home and we were gonna plant it in our front yard, but I didn't want to do that. And I asked my mom something else, and she just brought out a kiddie pool and said, would that work? And then instead of just pouring the water in there, you have to spread it like all around on its roots and not just on the plants. Spread it all around, and you have to mix the soil and the water.
The children are doing something with their parents or grandparents as a family, and I'm sure that when she gets home, she's going and checking it to see what it looks like, and in the morning, I'm sure before she goes to school, it's just a family group activity.
My mom always wants me to be ahead of my class, and this feels good.
I tried to make it a parallel as me raising her. She was this tiny baby, and I have to do so much to her in the beginning, and then everything that I put into her, she's able to put out later, kind of like with our cabbage. We put a lot into it, and it was able to grow. We push them to be the best at whatever they do, and I always tell them that you do the best that you can because you can't do any better than that. So I just tell them to do that in every area, whether it's schoolwork, being a friend to someone, just do your best at whatever you're doing.
Agriculture is fundamentally one of the wisest and greatest pursuits that anyone can have, because not only do we feed our families,
but we feed the world.
So why do they use cabbage for this competition? Bonnie Plants said they use a cabbage because that is the first plant they grew back in 1918, and it was delivered by horse and buggy.
Horse and buggy, okay. Congratulations once again to Elena.
The Louisiana Farm Bureau's Young Farmers and Ranchers program is for people involved in agriculture age 35 and younger.
It's a program designed to turn these young people into agricultural leaders, and it's also there to spice up their lives a little. 2 weekends ago, about 100 farmers, ranchers, and their families traveled to the Tabasco factory on Avery Island. There they saw the whole process from the salt-covered barrels to the final product. The group then went to the oldest operating rice mill in America, the Conrad Rice Mill in New Iberia. This is home to Conrico rice, and the group sampled some of the company's wild pecan rice. But as the title of the conference implies, it's also about leadership. That's why the group heard from podcaster, radio host, and farmer Rob Sharkey. You probably know him as the Shark Farmer. Sharkey shared his story with the group and reminded them that during hard times, it is important for them to talk about what they're going through.
You talk to farmers that went through the 80s, and they didn't talk about it back then either. It's always kind of a taboo. You just don't talk about when you're having trouble on your farm. I think that's a mistake. I think people should talk about it because you don't have that all bottled up, and that stress can really get to a person.
That's good advice. If you would like to hear more from Sharkey, you can listen to the Shark Farmer podcast or listen to him daily on SiriusXM Rural Radio, channel 147 at 3 p.m. Central Time. We also have a link to his website on our website, twilatv.org.
Well, speaking of leadership, every 2 years we get a visit from the future ag leaders of Louisiana. This year, Class 16 came to visit as part of their media training segment, where each class member was interviewed on set in order to get them more comfortable in future communications with the media. Dr. Bobby Swallow, director of the LSU Ag Leadership Program, says one of the keys to communication is showing how farmers are constantly generating assets for everyone.
Always be for something. People want to be for something. And those of us in agriculture are for feeding people, sheltering people, clothing people. That's what we are for, and we're proud of it. I'm proud to be affiliated with people like that. That's more than most people get the opportunity to do.
Now, Class 16 will soon be jetting off on some adventures. This summer, they'll be touring agriculture operations in California, and this time next year, they'll be just getting back from an overseas tour of East Asian countries. Stay tuned as we'll be following them closely.
You know who's going to be following them really closely? Someone who's in the class, Carl Wiggers. Yep, Carl's in that class, and he's doing very well. I'm looking forward to seeing what he starts to put out afterward. Still to come on Twila, farming isn't always quite so serious, and there are some seriously funny things we've got to show you.
But first, we get a taste of what crawfish prices are doing right after this. Stay with us.
A Valentine's night you won't forget. Experience the wonderment of James Linden Hogg. February 14th, Manship Theater.
It would just hold, keep on.
James Linden Hogg, live. Reserve seats now, manshiptheater.org. Come fall in love all over again.
Her now.
Landowners are minding the Louisiana Forest for our grandchildren. A place for wildlife, recreation, lumber for homes. It's the right thing to do. Forestry, covering half our state, all of our hearts.
I am a giant panda bear, loving bamboo. I almost went extinct, but I'm not because of you. I am a grouse, and I almost was too. If it wasn't for the help of the San Diego Zoo. How about you join us?
Save a desert tortoise.
We need your help to bring species back, so bring us back from the brink of extinction. Bring us back from the brink of extinction. I am a bring us back from the brink of extinction. California, bring us back from the brink of extinction.
And desert tortoise.
This is the moment I knew. His future
had no boundaries.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
Well, we're almost at the end of the show, so I know you're probably pretty hungry. So we have the latest crawfish prices for you from around the state. The good news is that compared to last week, prices are coming down and the size of the crawfish is going up.
That's always good. Let's start in Lake Charles, where Boulet's Boil and Go has them for $4.25 a pound live and $6.49 a pound boiled. Up in the northern part of the state in Monroe, Randall's Fine Meats are offering them at $5.25 a pound in live sacks, while boiled crawfish is at $6.95 a pound. We found some of the best deals this week in Covington at Llama's, where it's almost the same boiled or live. $4.75 a pound for live and $4.79 a pound boiled.
That's a whole lot cheaper because I paid about $7.25 a pound in Natchez this past weekend.
And how much did you buy?
150 pounds, so you do the math.
And who did you invite? Or should I say, who did you not invite?
Well, I didn't invite you, but it was Landon's birthday, so it was a small gathering.
Okay, happy birthday, Landon.
Yeah, and as always, make sure you shop around for the best price and check on Fridays as prices tend to change right before the weekend. Special thanks to the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board. Ask before you eat. Crawfish season just so happens to coincide with another season.
Yeah, scholarship season. Yeah, sure, that's a thing, right? Which is why I'm here to remind you that the deadline is fast approaching for you to apply for the Louisiana Farm Bureau Foundation Linda and Wayne Zonbrecker Scholarship. Each year, the Louisiana Farm Bureau Foundation awards 5 $2,000 scholarships to graduating seniors who will pursue a career in agriculture. The great thing about these scholarships is that they are 4-year scholarships. So if you maintain the qualifications, you can get money each semester of your college career. The deadline is February 28th. If you would like to apply for the Linda and Wayne Zonbrecker Scholarship, contact your parish Farm Bureau office or get the brochure online. We have a link for you at twilatv.org. But remember, you must turn in your application to your parish Farm Bureau office before February 28th. Well, this week, we are leaving you with an extra funny Twila boost straight from the farm.
Chunkin Video compiled this collection of farm blunders that will surely leave you laughing into the weekend. And don't worry, no animals or people were harmed in the making of this video. We hope you enjoy.
Ich hab sie gestochen.
Well, that does it for this edition of Twila. Be sure to join us next week when Neil Melanson will be reporting from Washington, D.C. on the latest on national affairs as a group of young farmers visit with Louisiana's congressional delegation.
Until then, you can watch all of our stories online at twilatv.org, and be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. I'm sure Neil is going to be posting a few pictures from there.
For all of us here at Twila, thanks for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.